I do not feel like the amount of like human energy, human money currency that has to be paid in order to keep up a marriage is worth it. The ROI is not the value that you get out of having a romantic partner is not worth the amount of effort that you as an individual have to exert in order to keep that romantic relationship healthy and happy. Because what you get out of it is not it's not worth it. And not only is it not worth it, what you get out of it, but also here's where here's my biggest issue is the opportunity costs. The opportunity cost of marriage is the ROI great? No, but it's not negative. But when you add in opportunity costs, your ROI you're now bankrupt. You're bankrupt, you owe the bank. Hello, 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 and welcome back to Bri Speaks podcast. I am your host, Bri Speaks, who created the 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control. If you are new here, I know these sound like, which I know a lot of you are, based on the title of this video. I know a lot of you all had comments on my last video on the vocabulary that I used in my video. And, before we get into my 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control, I just want to say that is how I talk on all of my videos. That is literally what my channel is about. My channel is about the 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control, which are patriarchy, capitalism, corporatism, racism, ableism, and religion. And so when I talk about narcissism on this page, I don't talk about narcissism as in narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. I talk about narcissism as a framework, as a structure, as a program, if you will, that runs on our society, that runs on people. Like when you run a program on a computer, it does things to the computer. It makes the computer, if you're running a Windows operating system, your computer is going to act different than if you are running a iOS, an Apple operating system, right? It is that they have different programs. And so although you can do the same function on both of those computers, it will show up a different way. So narcissism is a program that when placed upon people or societies or populations or corporations or it's a framework so that anything can be narcissistic. Anything, because narcissism is the idea of taking a person or small group of people and putting their needs over the benefits of the collective. Not even only just putting their needs, but like narcissism has like this deep, insidious darkness to it that is not just putting your needs above someone else's, but like doing it even though you know it's going to hurt someone else, which I know is going to sound a little ironic given, again, the topic of this video, but just, keep listening. But it is like narcissism is, I want to be at the top of a hierarchy. I want to dominate. I want to exert control. I want to extrapolate. I want to exploit. I want to gain without giving. I want to take without ever having to be held accountable for any of the consequences of my taking. Like narcissism it's a concept. It is not just a personality disorder. And so that is why I talk about all of these social pillars, if you will, through the lens of narcissism, because all of our social pillars are built on the narcissistic framework. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna say about that. This is an intellectual page. If you don't like intellectual conversations, this is not the page you're supposed to be on. I'm so sorry. If I had to give my page like a reading level, I'd say you need at least a high school diploma, maybe 10th grade, but understanding that most of the United States has a reading comprehension level at the 6th grade, my page is not for everybody. If you haven't read a book for fun in the last year, I'd even give you 2 years. This page is not for you. If you don't like reading, if you don't like deep thinking, if you don't like critical thinking, if you don't like abstract thinking, if you don't like applying knowledge that you've got in one place to another place in an interconnected fashion, you probably shouldn't be here. It's like, so I just want to start off the video with that because I got so many comments in the last video talking about how I am covering my feelings with intellectual speak. And so that is me like hiding how I truly feel. And it's like, no, I'm an intellectual person. This is how I speak. And these are my feelings through the way that I understand my feelings. So anyways, enough about the gibber and the jabber. I know why you're here. You're here because you want clarification on my crazy last video of why I am divorcing my perfect husband. And just to get it started, yes, I filed for the divorce. Things are almost final, but I have moved. My background is different now. I have to decorate my wall. I didn't want to make a video before I did it, but then I was like, meh, oh well, I'll do, because like I have so much stuff to do. I've got places to go. I got to be in Texas this weekend. I got to be in Ghana and Africa next week, next month, and so I'm prioritizing getting out videos more than I'm going to prioritize like making it look good, because I need to stockpile up my videos so that I can do all the things I need to do and when I'm traveling. So that is, yeah, we are separated and I have moved out. People have been like, oh, one of the questions I've got my cliff notes here. One of the questions has been, what if you're not happy? And just seeing that in the bud, I am very happy. I know I was very sad in the last video, and I was sad, but now that I have been living the life that I so desperately craved, y'all, so far so good. So far so good. Again, this is nothing, which we'll get to. I'm gonna say it's not about my husband. People took that last video and were so gung-ho on like why I could have stayed or why I should have stayed since he was a good person. But like him being a good person that was only half. That was only half. That was only half of the reason that I decided to get a divorce. Oh, so first comment that I've been seeing a lot was that he wasn't actually perfect and we weren't really compatible. And so I will find someone who's more compatible and I'll get married again at that point. Woo, crazy stuff, you guys. No, I think we were perfectly compatible. I know we were perfectly compatible. And I understand that I have ADHD and he's like the opposite of whatever that is, but our core values were so aligned. Like how we see the world, how we see goodness, how we see morality, how we see how children should be raised, how we see people should be treated. All those things, the things that really truly matter in a relationship, those things were very aligned. They were like, we valued the same stuff. So people can say we weren't compatible in the superficial ways, but again, the ways that we weren't compatible they worked together. Like he could not cook. I do not like to clean. I cooked, he cleaned. Like that was our setup, again, prior to me losing my job, and we'll get into that. But like when it was two working adults in the household, our habits they didn't counteract each other, but they always complemented each other. Yeah, I'm a little more reckless than he is in general, but I enjoyed that he was a little more safe. I pulled him out of his shell and he reeled me in. It worked out very, very well. People are saying he wasn't compatible and that's why I divorced him. And it's like, no, we were very compatible. And they're like, oh, if you find someone more compatible, I'll marry that person. And I'll never get married again. So that's that. Next was uh I was projecting my feelings and expectations onto him. And it's because I'm a people pleaser and I was afraid to like talk to him about it. And so I was taking on all of this work without saying anything about it. And that's why I felt like, overwhelmed or trapped or imprisoned. No, yeah, the internet. I know my last video was like an hour and a half, and this one probably will be as well. But that doesn't mean me or my life. So I was okay, but I have self-awareness and I will take accountability where I can, and I will. And I will say I was a people pleaser. And I will say at one point in my marriage, I was doing things that I put out on myself as an expectation that he never told me I should do. And I was just doing it because I felt like, this is what I should do as a partner, as a wife, as a woman. But that wasn't the majority of that was like, that was a rare occasion. And I thought I was pretty clear about this in my first video. He did not tell me I had to do any of these things. Like, again, I did become 100% of the cook, become the cook of the house 100% of the time, but I was already at 75% when I lost my job. So going up to 100, it did bother me, but it wasn't the end of the world. But he did stop cleaning as much as he used to whenever, because I was home more. And so, but the thing is, like, I had a work from home job anyways. So I was always home before, but I was working a 9 to 5. And so now that I'm working a self-employed 9 to 5, again, I do feel like the overarching expectation was like, well, I guess since now you make your own schedule, you will have more ability to do household stuff in the in-between times. And I think then that was true. And I did pick up more chores around the house. Although in hindsight, I feel like that's still kind of not fair. because his job didn't give him more or less work. His job didn't change at all, at all, obviously, but he started cooking less and cleaning less because I was home more. Again, but did he start cooking less and cleaning less, or did I start cleaning more and cooking more, and that cost him to stop cleaning less? Cost him to start cleaning less and cooking less. What came first, the chicken or the egg? I'm not sure. I'm not sure which of those things happened first, but either way, I did sit down and have a conversation with him about it. I did talk to him and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like I am taking on more of the household work and household chores, and I know that I lost my job, so that the expectation would be that I do more household work, but I'm not at home all day sitting on my hands, looking in the sky and hoping, the world becomes a better place. I am at home, like, y'all see all these note cards? This is not, and then this is it, and these are my final note cards. I'm not even talking about the draft note cards that I had to do. Like, I'm just like, y'all don't understand how much work goes into putting these things together. But it's like, it's hours of thought, of thinking, of concept creating, of like outlining, all this stuff. It easily takes an 8-hour day, but it just, because I'm not getting paid the way I was getting paid in my full-time job, it just feels like all of my work is invalid. And I just don't think that is fair. Just don't think that's fair. So anyways, yeah, I did talk to him about the chores like shifting one way or another. And this goes back to him being the perfect husband. He totally understood. And he said he would, pick up more cleaning again and pick up the cooking again, pick up some cooking again. Cause I told him all the same stuff I just told you. It's just like, I'm working all day still. And I do have more flexibility to get things done, but it's like, it's about the same amount of flexibility I had before. I gave myself a 1-hour break. Like, my circadian rhythm from quitting my losing my job for my 9 to 5, to switching over to using my time and energy for content creation. Like, it just didn't, my brain didn't, like, my systems and my patterns, I still got up and went to work every day. I still did the same stuff I was doing. It's just the thing that I'm doing is different than the thing I was doing before. But the outline, the actual action, the actual activity, actually output was the same for me, but it just, the outcome, the material outcome was less than it used to be. But that's how it's going to be when you're starting anything, when you're building any business, any platform. It's going to start with low income and then it builds over time. So I just, just don't, it just happened that way. And I do think, and I'm, doing a little processing on the internet, which is absolutely a terrible idea. But I do think that is why I felt, I guess maybe anger or resentment, was because it did feel like my efforts were being invalidated just because they weren't being paid in the same way that I used to be paid. So anyways, so that's, okay. All right. So, and there are two other things with me projecting my expectations of myself onto him. So yeah, I did. We did talk about it. He did change. It was great. It was still wonderful. But it still wasn't, there were still accommodations that I had to make at the end of the day. And here's where people want to call me selfish. And I have a section on selfishness, so we'll get there. Yeah. So part of these projected expectations are, some of the projected expectations were things like, if I am going into the kitchen to make myself some food and my husband is home, I am going to make both of us some food, right? So that is for me, it is a labor of love. If I love someone, I'm not going to go in the kitchen and make myself food and then say, you got to get yourself something to eat. Like, it's just like, doesn't that feel like, I don't know, does that feel weird or wrong to anyone else but me? Is that just it? Is that just me? Or like, if I'm washing my clothes, right? I'm like, we have one laundry basket, so everyone's clothes are going in there. So I'm washing your clothes, and then if I fold, I'm folding. I used to fold everyone's clothes. If I was folding clothes, I would fold everyone's clothes, but my husband, whenever he did laundry, he would just fold his own clothes. And so then I started folding my own clothes and putting his clothes in a pile. And that did work out. He didn't say anything. He didn't say anything about that switch, but he probably, may or may not have noticed because he was doing most of the laundry anyway. Anyways, yeah. So there were some things that I was doing within the relationship that were like extra, like the always cooking for both of us, or always, folding both of our clothes, or always, if I was the only one who cleaned the bathroom for some reason. But so there is that extra, but then there is the bare minimum. And this is the part that I feel like no one is really understanding out of me. There is a bare minimum amount of effort that has to go into a healthy relationship. If you want to maintain a healthy relationship with a romantic partner, there is a bare minimum amount of attention, time, energy, quality time, communication, consideration, bare minimum threshold. And that bare minimum threshold is too high for me. It is too high for me when I compare all of the time, energy, thought, like mental cognitive processing that goes into thinking about your partner, thinking about your romantic partner on a daily basis. All of that cognition juice and stuff, like for what you get out of it, which is like you get your best friend, you totally a best friend, a person you can be yourself with, a person you can tell anything to, a person you can be your complete and open and honest and vulnerable self with. And then you can also sleep with that person, right? That's what I personally see marriage as. Is like you get an assigned best friend that you get to sleep with and do life together with, which is like, it's a beautiful and it's a lovely concept. But for me, when I think about how every day for the rest of my life, I have to think about you. I'm sorry. I know it's going to sound messed up, but I have to think about you. I have to think about your feelings. Whenever I talk to you, I have to, and again, y'all, I know all of my new people here who don't like talking about my 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control, which is my whole channel, but the patriarchy, which is the number one narcissistic social hierarchy, placing men on top of women, placing the male gender as one that is above or, more powerful than or more important than the feminine, which is crazy. So you get a best friend who you can sleep with and be yourself with, and that's wonderful. But the amount of time, the amount of that you have to think about them every single day for the rest of your life. You have to think about how. Oh, that's what I was saying. So the patriarchy, it tells men that they are not able to connect with their feelings, or else it's like it's bad. It's bad, or it's feminine in some way. And so often men will disconnect themselves from their feelings, especially like from a very early age. They'll be disconnected from their feelings, and the only way that they can express any emotion is through anger. So when you're disconnected from your spirit, which are your feelings, when you're disconnected from your feelings or your spirit, that creates the ego. That creates, like, the ego gets bigger the more disconnected you are from your feelings. So a lot of men are disconnected from their feelings because the patriarchy tells them they're not allowed to be connected to their feelings. And what that does is create an ego, a very large ego. And egos are very fragile, is the first thing I'm gonna say. But they are like I have so many concepts that I talk about on a regular basis that I'm trying to stick into this one video, but it's not gonna work. So anyways, long story short is men have fragile egos. And because of that, as women, we have to often tiptoe around what we want to say to men. We have to frame it in a way that doesn't hurt their feelings, and frame it in a way that won't make them upset, frame it in a way that will not make us be endangered if they hear it and they don't like it. And that in and of itself is a cognitive load. Whenever I have to go talk to my husband, who was, again, a man raised in the patriarchy, have fragile egos. Men, I know you're going to say, no, that's not true, but that's your fragile ego. Instead of saying, is that true? Do men have fragile egos? Are we sensitive? Do we get upset about little small things all the time? Instead of thinking that, your first reaction is deny, deflect, and create space between me and this thing. That's your ego trying to tell you not to take accountability for what I'm saying. Anyways, women will know what I'm saying. Women will understand. If you have a man in your life, you know that you have had to be fragile around what you said to him because you didn't want his anger to flare, his ego to be hurt. So yeah, having to talk to a man and be wary of how you're saying what you're saying to him in order to not hurt his fragile ego is a lot different than talking to someone and not having to have that because I know someone's going to say every time you talk to someone you have to ensure that you're making sure you're not being an asshole and hurting their feelings, and I agree with that, but it is to a higher degree when it is a woman talking to a man. It is the same degree that Black people have to be very cognizant of when they are talking to white people. There are just certain things that as a Black person I cannot say to a white person or it will hurt their fragile ego. Like if I say something like white people didn't invent most of the things in the United States. They were just ideas that were stolen from Black people or women, and the credit was given to a white man. White people will get upset. Like that will hurt their fragile ego that tells them they are the greatest thing that God ever did, and they are the greatest gift to God's green earth, and they are the most brilliant and most powerful and most smartest people on the planet. And so whenever you say anything that challenges that worldview, it attacks the ego and it hurts them, and then they get angry. Then the narcissistic rage comes. So anyway, so that plus all of the, like I said, it's just like when you are in a romantic relationship specifically, y'all, there is so much work. Like, and it's like, I'm saying this and people are acting like I am crazy, but divorce rates are 50%. That means at least, at least half of marriages, people are not meeting the threshold of happiness, of energy output. Like, someone in the marriage is feeling neglected if a divorce is, or unhappy if a divorce is being filed. And I know that I am a very, very rare exception of having someone who I was satisfied with, but not wanting to just the concept of marriage altogether just doesn't work for me. But most people who file for divorce are people who were deeply unhappy in their marriage. And that deep unhappiness comes from them not having their minimum threshold met of happiness. And that minimum threshold is high. Everyone says marriage is work. There's an entire industry called marriage counseling, marriage therapists, couples therapy, intimacy therapy. Like, there's entire industries around keeping marriages together because of the simple fact that being married is hard. It is a difficult thing. It takes a shit ton of energy, more energy than I personally feel like anyone should expend on maintaining one specific relationship. But even so that's my personal opinion, is like, I feel like the amount of effort that goes into maintaining this one relationship is extreme. And it is like, and again, for what you get out of it is a best friend you can have sex with. And I have a best friend. I love her. I don't sleep with her, but I don't need that. I have the deep, intimate relationships with people who I can be myself with, who I can talk to without worrying about if I'm gonna hurt their feelings or not, because they know that I have good intentions with whatever I say. And so we don't have to have that like energy spent on trying to figure out their intentions, or like when you're talking to someone who is not your romantic partner, it is so easy. And not to say talking to my romantic partner wasn't easy. It was. He was my best friend, but there is still an extra level of concerted effort that you have to put in to conversations with your loved one in order to, like, especially like not everyday conversations, but like some hard conversations, or like even, I would say even some everyday conversations. Like, if I wanted him to cook, I can't say, can you cook more often? I can't say that, but you have to dress it up. You got to put, Caesar dressing on it. You got to toss it and garnish it to make it a nice, beautiful presentation of a meal, as to why I would like you to wash the dishes more. And so that they don't get hurt and feel like, oh, you don't think I do anything in the house. You don't think so. I'm not enough now. And it's just like, no one said that. I just asked for a little extra help in the kitchen. This is like, but like with a non-romantic partner who you still give your full authentic self to, you just don't have to do all of that. You just don't have to. And that's just like, and so for me, it's like that. So for me, it's just not worth it. Like, it is like, that is it. That's it on that. Was it me pushing my expectations onto him? That's like 15% of it. The other 85% is marriage takes an extremely large threshold of mental time, energy, tension, consideration in order to keep that marriage healthy and happy. And I do not feel like the amount of like human energy, human money currency that has to be paid in order to keep up a marriage is worth it. The ROI is not worth it. The value that you get out of having a romantic partner is not worth the amount of effort that you as an individual have to exert in order to keep that romantic relationship healthy and happy. Because obviously you can have the relationship and then not put in the energy and the effort and the whole thing. And then you got two people who are in a marriage who hate each other, or who are single but married, but like, that is not a healthy marriage. So I'm saying, if you want, like, you can plenty of people stay in the marriage and don't meet that threshold and ends up in divorce or unhappy marriages. But like, I'm sitting here saying, I see the amount of energy. I don't want to put in that much energy because I don't get what you get out of it it's not worth it. And not only is it not worth it what you get out of it, but also and here's where my biggest issue is the opportunity costs. The opportunity cost of marriage are though, like what you have to pay for what you get is like, is the value, is the ROI great? No, but it's not negative. But when you add in opportunity costs, your ROI you're now bankrupt. You're bankrupt. You owe the bank. I'm just like, oh, because the problem that I had when I was in my marriage was like, there was just so many times where I would be doing marriage and I would just, in the back of my mind, I would just be like, I could be doing something else. I could be doing something else. I could be working on my book. I could be working on my YouTube. I could be working on my TikTok. I could be working on, you know, my nonprofits. I work with nonprofits. I have so much stuff that I'm doing that brings me so much joy, brings me so much happiness, brings me so much fulfillment, brings me so much satisfaction, brings me so much pride. Like just so much stuff in my life that I have, that I do, that I enjoy, that brings me so much like light and goodness and like just fulfillment and having to decrease the amount of time, energy, and attention that I give to those things, like my actual creations, my babies, literally my book, this platform, my babies. I've birthed these from the womb that is my mind. The mind is a womb. People don't think of it as that, but your mind is a dark space where spirit energy lives, comes, goes into and out of, and creates living entities like a business, like a book, like a TV show, like a movie, like a relationship even is a baby, is a living, breathing entity of itself. It grows, it changes, it can die. Like people, see, that's what I'm saying. If you're here, you have to be able to think outside of boxes, outside of the way that society teaches you to think. Because when you see everything for what it actually is, you will understand how to move throughout your life better. And so my creations, which are my babies, my literal children, I was neglecting them. I'm neglecting my children in order to have this romantic relationship. People don't think of their passions as children. They just think of them as hobbies or side gigs or something. But I've been working on my book for 4 years now. Like I am like, that is not something that I can just start neglecting because I have a romantic partner. That for me, I have a 4-year-old book child and I still need to care for it and nurture it and pour into it, or else it will die. My book will die. That dream of being an author will die if I don't feed that. And for me, again, I just like that book for me, even if I sell 0 copies, just finishing it is worth $1 billion. It will be worth so much to me when I finish writing that book. If it doesn't sell anything, that's fine. Like that's fine. That's how much I care about the child that is my book. It reminds me of this, like, it's like this old fable or old wise tale. It's like there were 2 boys and they were fighting over a toy, and they were both saying the toy is theirs and so they should have it. And the adult in the room didn't know whose it was. And so the adult said, hey, okay, well, I'll split the toy in half and each of you can get a half of the toy. And then one of the boys started crying and said, no, please don't break the toy. Just give it to him. Let him have it. And the other boy was just like, yeah, that sounds fine. You can break it in half. And that is just like, that is when you love something so much, you will, instead of breaking it in half, you will let it go in order to keep it whole. And that is how I feel about my husband. It's like my husband and myself and my stuff, it's like I love them all and I know I cannot give them all of me the way I want to. And so instead of giving myself half-assing and giving my half of myself, be half in and half out my marriage, and be like, yeah, I'm married to this guy, but like I don't give a fuck about him. I just want to do all the stuff I want to do, or do all the stuff I want to, and so my husband will be neglected, or I can do what I was doing and not neglect my husband and say, oh, I'll neglect all this other stuff that I'm doing because I can't pour into it the way I used to because I now have this entire other being, this entity taking up all of my time, my energy, my attention, my spirit energy, my creation energy, all of the energy that I have that was going into all of my things. It was now going into my relationship, which is like, again, that's fine for most people. But I personally feel like most people don't care about their passions the way I care about my passions. I don't feel like people I'm sure there are 100,000 wives right now who will be like, oh, I wrote a book while I was married. I wrote a book while I, raised 3 kids. I headed a business or had a company. It's just like, that is good for you. All I can say is like, that is good for you. I'm not saying that I cannot do it. I know I can do it. If I wanted to write my book and be married and be a mother, I could do it. But at what cost? There will be a cost, and the cost would be my mental health. Like, it will be my mental health, or it'll be my physical health, or it'll be my spiritual health. Like, something, humans only have a finite capacity per day. Well, someone did another comment, and it was a good comment. And she said that, so basically you had 3 spoons a day and you wanted to give 5 spoons. And so you felt guilty for not being able to give 5 spoons. And so you reached into your reservoir and you pulled out 5 spoons from tomorrow, basically, and gave it to them. And then you were drained and exhausted and depressed and sad. And I'm just like, that's kind of right. But I feel like a better example is that I have 5 spoons every day, not 3, and I need 2 more because I want to give them away. But it's like, I have 5 spoons, and I know I have 5 spoons every day. But I felt like marriage was taking up at least 3 spoons a day. It's just like, I do feel like marriage takes up 3 of your spoons a day. Or if you guys, if you're talking about like a weekend, like 3 spoons a day on marriage, and then you get 2 spoons to yourself. Really 1 spoon, because then you got weekends are also for like, errands and grocery shopping and doing stuff that you couldn't do during the week. And then, maybe during the week, if I was working, 2 spoons would be into thinking about marriage. And it's like, again, when I say marriage, like, I don't mean like thinking about marriage, but it's just like when you have a romantic partner, you think about them, like, period, full stop. You think about them. You think about them. If you love your partner, you think about them. Like, you're going throughout your day, and then boop, your husband just pops into your head, or your wife just pops into your head. And it's just like, oh, I wonder what they're doing. I wonder if, what we're going to eat for dinner tonight. Oh, did I do this for dinner? Oh, I got to make sure I'm doing some stuff, to make sure that I'm prepared for later tonight. It's like, oh, is it my turn to wash the bed sheets? Like, it's just like, when you have a partner, there is a part of your brain capacity that is dedicated to thoughts about your partner, their needs, your needs, and how they will impact your partner, what you're going to do that day, and how your partner is going to fit into that. Like people don't pay attention to their thoughts, and that's the problem. That's like, people don't think about, like, they lack self-awareness. That's the number one problem. But because people don't think about their thoughts, they don't have self-awareness, but they don't think about, like, okay, so because I have ADHD, and I think this is probably why I am like this, I've always been very aware or cognizant of how much executive functioning I have for the day. I know if I work out in the morning, I take my meds, and if I went to sleep on time, like, I'm going to be full of energy all day. I know if I wake up, I don't work out, I don't take my meds, I'm going to be off. All right. If I wake up and I work out and I don't take my meds, I'm going to be medium. If I take my meds and I don't work out, I'll be like, probably like a little higher than medium, but like, it won't be, tip top. So I've always been very aware of, like, how much am I thinking about this thing? Because I know that when I spend a lot of time thinking about a thing, I lose energy to doing other things. Like, people with ADHD, their biggest problem is they use so much cognitive effort when it comes to time to, like, do the thing, to execute the actual executive functioning. We can't do it because we're all burnt out because we've been thinking about it all day. We've been thinking about it, doing it, everything around it, when we should do it. Should we do this first? Should we do that first? Like, ADHDers, all, like, we have so much going on in this brain at any given second. I like, it is, whenever something has my attention, I am hyper aware of it, because I know my attention is so valuable. All of our attention is so valuable. But as an ADHDer who has struggled with, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, like the actual name, like, it's more of it's an attention dysregulation problem. But because of that, because it's hard for me to I don't want to say it's hard for me to regulate. It is hard for me to regulate my attention. Because it's hard for me to regulate my attention, when something is taking my attention, I'm always hyper aware of it, because I know it will have an impact on my overall day, my overall progress in life, my overall, like, just way of being. If something is taking my attention, if I'm not aware of it, my life will spiral out of control. And so I am aware of literally what percentage of my brain is being used for thinking about this, for thinking about that, for thinking about XYZ. Like, people will just go throughout their day, and then at the end of their day, just like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. And they, like, won't think about why they're exhausted. They won't think about what day weren't they exhausted, and now what day that they are exhausted, and what is the difference between those days. Like, people don't think about how they feel. I think about how I feel every day. Every day. And everyone should. Like, you should be hyper aware of how you feel. Me and my nervous system, we are locked in. We are locked in. If something is making me anxious, depressed, sad, angry, like, if I have an emotion, I am sitting with it. I am addressing it right then and there. I'm figuring out where it came from. I'm figuring out why it's there. I'm figuring out who put it there. Did I put it there? Is this a childhood trauma? Is this a now trauma? Am I being triggered from something that happened before? Or am I upset at something that's happening right now? Should I be upset at this thing? Why do I feel upset if I feel like I shouldn't be upset? Like y'all, I think about all of these things every time I have basically any emotion at all. Basically any emotion at all. And so I am because my emotions, because they, I don't know how to explain it, but like, I don't know why I feel like I have to explain why you should care about your own emotions. But just know that they're very important, and you should be very connected and attached to your emotions and the things that trigger them. Yes. So people will go throughout their day and they'll come home and they're exhausted some days, and some days they come home and they're not exhausted, and they won't look at why that is. But I always look at why that is, because if I don't, like I said, my life will spiral out of control, and I will. If I don't pay attention to how I'm regulating my attention will be dysregulated, and then bad things will happen to me. And so that is why I had such an awareness of how much I am thinking about my partner. Yeah. So I think people need to be more aware of how they are spending their energy all day. That'll help them figure out what actually is making them happy and what's making them sad. Because I was able to quickly realize what was going on with me because I pay attention to my emotions. I pay attention. That's why I feel like most people, they will probably come to the same conclusion if they actually paid attention to how they feel and actually respected their own feelings instead of suppressing them or pushing them down or invalidating their own selves, which is like, that's crazy. If you don't believe you about your own feelings, who's going to believe you? Like, who experiences your feelings other than you? Who is in your body other than you? Who has to experience your life other than you? Nobody. No one has to be Bri but Bri. Not one person in this world has to walk this earth and Bri's body but Bri. So if something is making me unhappy, if something is making me depressed, if something is making me anxious, if something is making me uncomfortable, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. You can't make me stay. You cannot make me be uncomfortable in my own body. You cannot make me be unhappy in my own body. You cannot make me be depressed in my own body. I literally will not stand for it. And I feel like more people should get up and leave when they feel unhappy, because it's like life is meant to be enjoyed. Like, there's so much suffering in this world, and it is because of this disgustingly pervasive mentality that we have to suffer, that we have to endure. And it's like, no, we have free will, right? All my Christians, there are so many Christians in my comments, the Christians, they hate me. They hate me. And I'll talk to y'all in a little bit. But if the God that you believe in tells you have free will, but why is it that whenever someone exercises their free will in a way that you don't agree with, then I'm a terrible person and should be damned to hell? Not to say that your hell matters anything to me, but it's like, oh God, the way Christians try to impose their belief systems on other people is, oh my gosh. Anyways, so that is that. It was not me projecting my insecurities onto him. For the most part, it was the fact that there is a bare minimum amount of time, energy, attention that goes into marriage. And I feel like it is too high for the fact that you get a best friend that you can sleep with. I have a best friend and I don't care about sex that much to give away half of my life for it, or half of my brain and cognitive thinking for it. So why not live separately is a question I got often. He gets a house, I get a house. And I thought about that. We considered that. I talked about it, but it's still like, there's still a romantic relationship there for me to nurture, for me to water, for me to pour into, for me to put energy, time, attention into maintaining. Even if you live in separate houses, that minimum threshold of energy input, it goes down, but it is still high. It is still high. If you have a romantic partner, even if it's a long distance partner that you only see once a year, you have to talk to that person every day, or at least regularly enough where you feel very connected to that person. You have to spend quality time with them in some way. You have to think of ways to nurture and water this bond. It does not matter. Like, a romantic relationship is a lot of work. I don't care if y'all are on different, and one's a person in the North Pole and one person in the South Pole. If you guys would like to remain connected, you have to put in a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of attention. And it's just like, I just don't want to do that. The threshold of energy that I want to put in for maintaining a relationship is literally that what I have with literally any other relationship in my entire life, which is we have some deep and intimate, like, conversations, preferably in person, a few times a year. I see my family during all the holidays, birthdays. You don't talk to your best friend every single day, especially as an adult. You don't talk to them every single day. Sometimes you don't talk to them every single week. Sometimes you don't even talk to them every single month. But whenever you do talk, you connect, and it's deep and it's rich, and you re-establish, you re-nourish that relationship, and you walk away. You might not talk to them for another month, but you could always reach out to them. You always have access to them. Like, the access is there, even if you don't use it all the time. And because you have that access, because that access is there, you have that feeling of connectedness, that feeling of love. Like, I know that I haven't seen my best friend in, I don't know, probably somewhere between 6 months and a year. I'm about to go see her in Ghana next month. I'm super excited. But that'll be like our one time that we connect in the year. Like, I'm gonna be there for a week, but like, then if I don't talk to her for 6 months after that, it's like, but I know the love is still there. I know that connection is there. I know that relationship is still there. But that is not what happens with romantic relationships. If I see my husband for a week straight and then I disappear for 6 months, even if he has access to me, like, again, expectation of frequency of communication is just so much higher in a romantic relationship. You have to talk to them more often. It's like, and this is, again, it's like, I know it sounds bad that I don't want to, but it's just like, why do we have to treat romantic relationships so special and so different and so divine than we treat literally any other relationship ever? It's like, I don't want to talk to anybody every single day. I don't want to talk to anybody every single day. Just me and myself, and I don't even want to talk to my boss every day. I don't have a boss right now. My boss is me, and I am my boss, which is amazing. But I am broke, but that's okay, because again, someone else said in the comments, they're like, oh, all you had to do was basically, take care of a home, and you had a free meal every day and a roof over your head. I always tell people, I know for 100% fact, if I were one of the African peoples who were kidnapped and put on that boat and brought to America to be enslaved, if I were one of the later ones who knew that you got on that boat, you were being enslaved, I would have jumped. My body would be in the Atlantic Ocean right now as we speak, because I would rather die than be enslaved. And so people are like, oh, you could just, you don't have to be like be begging on the internet, because I have my GoFundMe. Oh, y'all, my GoFundMe is up. I'll put it here. It'll be linked in the description if you do want to support. But they're like, oh, you would rather be begging on the internet for money than have a husband that takes care of you? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, because I would rather, I would rather be homeless on the street than be enslaved. You can, and I know people are going to say marriage isn't enslavement, but it is. You are obligated to do things even when you don't want to do them. That is slavery. Like yes, jobs are slavery when you're obligated to do things that you don't want to do. People say that, oh, that's just being an adult. And it's just like, no, we are in a slavery. We are in a slavery society. We are in an enslavement society. Jobs are enslavement. They are forcing us to work in order for us to have access to food and water and shelter. That is, that is slavery. I don't know. I don't know what else you want to call it. I don't know what you want me to tell you. But all of these things are slavery. If you don't do what I tell you to do, I will let you starve or die. And oh, Bri, what are, other economic systems? I'm not going to do a video on it right now, but another day. But people don't realize how crazy it is. So everyone does say humans are the only one who has to pay rent to eat and pay rent to have food, water. Everyone says that. All the other animals get to eat free. And why is that? Because no one locks up their food, water, and shelter. Or shelter is we. I'm gonna make a video on it, but the fact that the government locks up our food and our water so that we have to work for them in order to get access to it, when we did have access to it as a people who just roam the land, that's slavery. And so, yes, it's all slavery. It's not just being an adult. And that goes to this other comment that somebody made was, yes, it's all slavery. And so someone was like, it seems like you have pathological demand avoidance. And I'm just like, y'all, and this is what the government wants. This is what the government wants. They want medical research and academic research to pathologize the lack of desire to do labor, to do more work, to be enslaved. Do you know how many times? Okay, do you all know that there was a syndrome? I forget. I have to look it up, and maybe I'll put it on the screen. But whenever Black people were enslaved, Black people who would try to escape, they invented a pathology for it. It's called, let's say, free slave syndrome or something like that, where they were, or let's call it slave derangement syndrome, because I know someone else who made a pathology whenever people try to pathologize the truth. But white people they made a disease up for Black people who wanted to escape, who tried to be free, because they felt like you must be crazy if you want to be free and not be enslaved. You're a Black person. You're supposed to love being enslaved. You're supposed to, this is supposed to be the life you've always wanted to live. This is supposed to be the life you're meant to live. In fact, this is your life that God told me to give you, is the slave. So why are you trying to run away? You're crazy. You're deranged. Y'all don't see that? Y'all don't see the parallels between a person who doesn't want to work 40 hours a week just to be able to have a couple of hours off on the weekend, but really not really have hours off on the weekend because you still have to do other errands that you couldn't do during the week because you were working your first 9-to-5 slavery job. Now you got to work your family weekend slavery job and your wife nighttime slavery job. Like, and then when women don't want to be wives, if people don't want to work jobs, it's like, oh, you're deranged. You have an issue. You don't want to be an adult. You're immature. No, I'm a human being. I am a human being. I am a living, breathing, sentient animal. Like, no, there's not one animal I can promise you. There's not one animal on this planet Earth who works 8 hours a day straight for food. I promise you. Please, if you can find one, let me know. But if there's an animal on this planet who works 8 hours a day in order to have access to food, I'll call myself a dummy. I'll get back on this internet and I'll call myself a dummy. So with that in mind, understanding that it is just an extremely unnatural thing for humans to have to work so much in order to have access to food and water, why are we pathologizing the demand avoidance? The problem is that there shouldn't be so many demands on us in the first place. Not that we shouldn't push back on the demands. We shouldn't dislike the demands. Demands shouldn't make us suffer. We should be pleasant slaves. We should do all this work that we would have never had to do naturally in nature and that we're not biologically wired to do. We should just do it anyway because this is the 21st century and this government said that I don't care what your biological makeup is. I want you to be enslaved so that I can exploit you for money, extrapolate money. I can extract more resources from you, your family, your lineage, and then the land that we're all standing on. If I don't like that, then I have pathological demand avoidance. All right. So, yeah, there's that. So the next question was, you are not truly sovereign because you still have a kid. That was a comment. And I would say, here's the thing. Yes, you are. As a single mom, and I said this last time, but as a single mom, you have more freedom than you do as a wife. And I know that, like, and again, this has nothing to do with like polygamy, like trying to sleep with other people. It has nothing to do with that. This is when you are a parent to a child. While you have responsibilities to that child, you still have ultimate decision-making power over your life and that child's. You know, I won't go into that, the fact that we have all this power over our children, which is like, I won't go into it. But the fact of the matter is like, when you have a child, that child doesn't make decisions for you. You make decisions for the child. And that makes all the difference. I don't have to compromise with my child. I do often. I take his opinion into account. And I'll talk about, I'll take his opinion into account a lot, to the point where I no longer live with my child. That was his decision. But to say that I'm not sovereign as a mother, no. That's like saying the United States is not sovereign because states have rights. It's like, no, my child has rights, but at the end of the day, there is a head authority, a final decision maker that supersedes the child. So I am not as sovereign as I could be with a child because I still have responsibilities to my child. I'm going to be a mother till the day that I die. But that is just like, it is not the same as having a husband. And you know what? Men say this all the time as a matter of freaking fact. Men always say having a baby is less commitment than having a wife or than getting married. Men always say that. And then women always come back and say like, oh, that's like crazy. The child is way more commitment than a spouse. But you know, this is the first time in my life that I will agree with the men. A marriage is way more commitment than a child. I know, and like from a man's perspective, that is like exponentially true, but from a woman's perspective, that is still true. Having a child with a man is like, again, you are responsible for that child, sure, and most of that labor will fall on the woman, and the man will be more free as a father than a woman will be as a mother for the most part. In general, there are always exceptions, but we're not talking about them. But you're like that man, that man doesn't have decision-making power over your being, over your life. Like you like a marriage, you are responsible for so much more when it comes to the feelings, the thoughts, you have to consider your partner way more than you have to consider your child. I'm sorry. I know that sounds so funny. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's like, it's just, hopefully that makes sense. I can't explain no better than that, but you have to consider your child, but you don't have to compromise with them. And ultimately the decision is yours. Your final decision is yours as a parent. But when you're married, you have to consult with your spouse or your significant other. And ultimately, the decision maker is both of you guys. You have to come to some sort of middle ground, or else the one of you will be unhappy, and then you will have an unhappy marriage, and then we know where it goes from there. So if you want to keep it healthy and happy, you have to consider both of those adults in that decision making, and that is way more power and control over you and your personhood than a child ever will be. So, men, hey, 1 point for you. And and then also that is one half, is like being a mom is easier than being a wife, in my personal opinion, and that is from my experience as well. But I did give my child his dad primary physical custody during all of this. That way, honestly, that was the harder decision of the two. It was harder than leaving my husband, obviously, but like, honestly, it was harder. Well, was it harder? They were both really hard for different reasons. I can't say one was more hard than the other. They were both very difficult for different reasons. But like I was saying earlier, I talked to my son about, like, it's like, if you stay with mom, you have to leave the state, because I had to move out of state to live with family. So I went to move in with my parents, which, God actually provided me with housing that is not my parents', that is free for me, and that I have my own house. It's not completely my own house, really, but it's a house that I will be the only one who is in the majority of the time that I'm staying here, and that is so beautiful. And I'm just like, and stuff like that, y'all. When I say, after that, like, after I sold myself, like, I'm going through this divorce, when I say, like, everything fell into alignment for me, y'all, I have a free place to live right now that is not with my parents. There are so many things that happen, which is how I know that I am doing what I'm supposed to do, because God opened every single door that needed to be opened for me as soon as I made the decision to do what she was telling me to do. With my inner God, all these Christians are telling me, oh, you need to find God. I found God inside of me, and she is beautiful, and she is powerful, and she is lovely, and she is amazing, and she is fearless. She is fierce. She is amazing and spectacular. The guy inside of me is proud of me. It's helpful to me. She's encouraging me. She is protecting me. Y'all, I feel so much clarity and so much peace. I feel like I've lost 1,000 pounds. Like, I haven't, but I just feel this weight has been lifted off. I feel so, like, I can't explain, like, the clarity and alignment that I have in my body. I've never felt it. I've never felt like this before. I feel so light. I feel so energized. I feel one with myself. I feel whole. I feel like I am me. I am Bri. I am. I can't explain that, but, like, I feel like I am myself again. I am myself. That's not where I was going with this. I was going with, yes. And so I asked my kiddo if he wanted to move states, or did he want to stay in the area he grew up in, which is, where his dad lives. I never moved too far away so that he could always have access to his dad, but he would move in with his dad instead of just kind of like living nearby him. And yeah, he was like, yeah, sure. He said because he has a relationship with his father. I always made sure that happened. Not to say unfortunately, because children, not even just a son, children deserve to learn who their parents are on their own. It's unfortunate because, we all know that some parents are crappy, shitty people. And so for the first 12 years of my kid's life, I was very protective of him from his father. But my child now is 12 years old, almost 13, and just a brilliant young man. He's in 7th grade. He's top of his class in many of his classes, but just mature, smart, a capable young man. And so I trusted him to be able to make the decision for himself of where he wanted to go and what he wanted to do. And I had always told myself I was going to let him live with his father in 9th grade, starting in high school. I was always like, not to say going to give him up, but I always was just waiting until I felt like he was mentally like whole and mature enough before I let him live with his dad, like, long term, because the beginning of a child's life, those developmental years are the most integral to building their character, to building their personality, to building their self-esteem, to building like a non-traumatized, like, whole person. Like, those first few years, if you mess those up, your kid's going to be hey, you just have a higher likelihood of having a jacked up kid. But after all of that is like baked and solidified, once they're getting older, you're still parenting, you're still putting in inputs, you're still there for them, you're always going to be a parent, but a lot of who they are is cooked. A lot of who they are is who they're going to be. And so while I don't trust my son's father as a person at all by any means, one, he's still he's a brokey deadbeat and he lives with his mama. His mom is going to be the one who takes care of my son for the most part. It's always been that way. He's one of those hobosexuals, if you know that term, but just a man who lives off of any woman nearby. And if he has no woman nearby, his mom is always there and available. And so his mom has always been the one who took care of our kid whenever it was, the father's time to have custody. Yeah, the mom was always the one to take care of him, and that will still hold true till this day. So, do I trust him to make good decisions? No. But do I trust his mom? No. Do I trust his mom? No. But do I trust do I trust both of them to ensure he goes to school every day and to not physically harm him? Yes, I do trust those things to happen, because what you'll learn about narcissists, because they both are, it's just, take my word on it. If you want to, do, but if you don't, that's fine. Narcissists will only do what is in their power to do and get away with. Like every narcissist really is the same. They're all evil, awful, horrible people. But the amount of harm that they cause is directly proportional to the amount of power that they have. So obviously, someone like a Hitler, someone like a Trump, someone like a Elon, Peter Thiel, or a Netanyahu, any of these very, very powerful narcissists, Epsteins, they have a lot of power, a lot of political power, monetary power, just they have power. And so, and they're narcissists, so they're going to enact a ton of evil on the world. They're going to enact a ton of evil. But like your lowly narcissist, like your basic ass baby father, on the street, he doesn't have a lot of power. He doesn't have a lot of power as a person. Clearly, I don't feel like my child is in danger. My baby father does not have the power to execute harm the way I'm sure he wants, but he doesn't have it. And so I think this will be a good learning experience for my son to figure out, again, who his father actually is. And he has the now mental maturity to actually be able to see what's happening and not be manipulated by the words that are coming out of his father's mouth. I am his mother, obviously. And so if you think I haven't trained my son on how to spot a narcissist, then you are sorely mistaken. And so he is very aware of all of the narcissistic tactics and games that can be played and how to avoid them. And then also, me and my son had a very long conversation on what I have deemed his emergency escape hatch lever. I gave him an emergency escape hatch lever that says, if you ever want to move back in with mom, you 100% can do that at any time. So all you have to do is, just essentially send me a text saying I'm pulling my emergency escape hatch lever, and I will begin the process. And I let him know that it's not going to be overnight. It's going to be a long process, because I know his narcissistic father is going to fight tooth and nail to keep the kid, because that is his leverage of power. That's a piece of power that he now holds over me. And so he will have to live in that house for a period of time while they know that he is trying to leave. And that period will be extremely uncomfortable. And so I told him, if you really are ready to leave, you have to be ready to say it out loud, say it to them, and stand up to them whenever they are causing you harm or havoc. And while I go through the courts to get him back. So I told him, like I said, you can only do that once. I'm not we're not doing this back and forth. We're not doing this over and over again. So he understands that I'm always here for him if he wants to come back, but that it is a big decision and he shouldn't take it lightly. Yep. So I did give up my kid to his awful evil dad, but I do feel like he will be safe, and that does also give me true sovereignty. Again, that my kid, I was always taking my kid with me. This was truly his choice, because his dad has been absent his whole life. Like when you have an absent parent, you not to say you always, but you do want to hang out with them. My dad was there was a moment in our childhood where he was in and out a little bit, and I'll distinctly remember having this, I want to be with my dad. I miss my dad. I want my dad. And then whenever he was coming around, because, him and my mom, they were having marital problems. So he was kicked out for a little bit. And then whenever he did come around, he would take us out. He would take us, to a water park or somewhere. You have this, when you don't have the parent you live with, you have this yearning to see them more as a child. And then you also, when they are the fun parent, the parent who doesn't do the discipline, doesn't do the structure, doesn't do the rules, you also want to be with them more, because whenever I'm with dad, it's always a good time. But that's because you're with dad every other weekend for 2 days out of the month. And so it's just, that dad doesn't have to set bedtimes. Dad doesn't have to make sure you do your homework. Dad doesn't have to make sure you study. Dad doesn't have to make sure you brush your teeth. Dad doesn't have to make sure you take a shower every day. Dad doesn't have to make sure you wash your clothes and make sure that you have good hygiene. Like, it's just like kids don't think about why they want to go with this other parent. They just know other parent, when I'm with them, it's fun. It's a great time. So let's give it a shot. Oh yeah. So all that to say, I let him choose to go with his dad, so he could see what that life is like, and he can come back whenever he's ready. But in the meantime, I will be enjoying myself. So that's that. Next question. I kind of did this one earlier, but someone said you're still not sovereign if you're, begging for money on the internet. And I want to go back to that. I just want to point out sovereign versus independent, because I feel like that was like a thing that was happening a lot in the comment section. To be sovereign is to have ultimate decision-making power over, your sense of self and your sense of being. But that doesn't mean that you don't lean on other people for help. That doesn't mean that other people can't support you. That doesn't mean that you no longer have a community. Like, it's like, I'm like, that's just like, I don't know. I just thought that was such a, they're conflating independence from sovereignty. Like, the example I thought about was the UK, the United Kingdom, is made up of 4 entities: England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. Yeah, that's right. And all of those make up the sovereign entity that is the UK, or the United Kingdom. But the United Kingdom is still like a part of the United Nations, right? It's still like a part of the European nations, EU, the European Union, I think, or maybe, Brexit happened, but that was Great Britain. Great Britain left the European Union. But the UK is still a part of the European Union. If that's wrong, I'm sorry. But the idea is that someone can be sovereign and make final decisions on their own behalf, and still have the support of people around them, and still have the support of community, and still have the support of family, and still have the support of others. Like, having ultimate decision-making power does not mean that you don't depend on anyone. It's like you might depend on that someone, or not even depend. Again, I wouldn't call it depend, because if you're depending on someone, then that's not really sovereign. I'm not depending on the internet to provide for me. If you all want to support me, boy, would I appreciate it. Boy, would I be grateful. Boy, would I, just like, it would be helpful. But if no one donates $1, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to allow myself to die. And you know what? Hey, again, if I die, I died doing what I loved. I died being free. I died following my dreams. I died chasing what I thought was right for me. And so if I die, then I die. Like, that's the thing. Like, people, I don't know, people are afraid of death, and I get it. But when you're a highly tapped in spiritual person, you know that death is not the end. It is just, I wouldn't even say the beginning. It's just like, it's the end of this phase. It's the end of this phase of life, and you move to your next phase of life, whatever that looks like in this world, in this dimension, or beyond. But it's, I don't know. Again, that's why I'm like, I would rather die than be enslaved, because people are like, if I don't give up my freedom now for some slight comforts, then I'll have no comforts ever, and I'll live my life unhappy, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why people choose slavery over death. It couldn't be me. It couldn't be me. That's all. So sovereignty and independence are different, and people need to recognize that. Next up bullet, I am being selfish and narcissistic, which is ironic. And I was just like, funny. So am I being selfish? Oh, and then not only am I being selfish, but I'm like making excuses for why I'm being selfish to make it seem like I'm not being selfish, and I'm all this other stuff. I'm just like, what are y'all talking about? I am being selfish. 110,000%. Yes. Like, that is the whole point. That is the point, is I am being selfish for the first time in my life, for the first time in forever. Okay, I'm just kidding. I don't know what song that is, but for the first time in my entire life, y'all, I am doing something for Bri and only Bri, for no one else. I'm not doing it because I'm hoping for someone else's approval. I'm hoping to impress someone. I'm hoping to get acknowledged by someone. I'm hoping to gain some sort of promotion or financial advancement. Again, do I hope that the internet supports me? Absolutely. But if y'all don't, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay, because I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing this for y'all. I'm doing this for me. And that's when other people are like, oh my God, you posted this so fast. I'm like, y'all, I recorded the episode quickly. I will say, even then, it was really still like I said I just asked my husband for a divorce in the thing, but it hadn't been just. It wasn't just. It was just like probably like a week before I had asked them, and then I had sat down to do the video. But I didn't post the video for months. For months, I had that in my drafts. I had that like sitting. I posted because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. And so yeah, people are just like, oh, you're doing this for the gram, and no, I'm not. But I did post it because I knew in my heart of hearts that this was a very unique experience. Not a unique experience that I was feeling, but I knew it was a unique decision that I was making. And that is why I was like, nah, I need to tell people about this because I don't want other women to feel like, oh, because I have a good man, I have to stay here. Or like, yeah, because this man is wonderful and everyone will call me crazy for leaving him, then I shouldn't leave him. But it's just like, if you are unhappy, if you are experiencing discomfort in your body that no one else can experience but you, that is more than enough. That is more than enough. Like, and I know psychology will tell you, no, go therapy your feelings away, go take meds, medicate your feelings away. Like, just do all these other things other than acknowledge that these are my feelings. This is where they're coming from. And I can stop doing the thing that's making my feelings negative so that I can no longer experience negative feelings. Like, like we try to treat all the symptoms in the world, but never get to the root cause of the disease. Like, you can take the cure and it'll be a hard pill to swallow, or you can take the treatment and have small ailments for the rest of your life that probably will eventually culminate into a chronic illness that kills you anyway. I'll take the pill now. I'll take the pill now and, get me some water. That'll be that. And boy, was it a hard pill swallow? It sure was. Cause I did. I love that man. I loved / still love. I have love. I have a lot of love for that man, and I always will for the rest of my life. So am I being selfish? Yes. Am I trying to cover that up? No. And am I being narcissistic? And I was thinking about that, and I would say the answer is kinda. I would say the answer is kinda, in the way that I define narcissism as, it's like, if you look at it on a spectrum, and maybe I have an actual visual for this, so I'll put it up if I remember to. But I see narcissism on a spectrum of, you can be a true narcissist in the way that you care about yourself and you feel like you and your needs are above the needs of others. But also on the side is, you will do what you want to do even at the expense of other people's pain and suffering. And then on the other far side is, you will do things in order to make everyone else happy. You will put everyone else's needs on top of your own, even if that is at the expense of yourself, even if that makes you unhappy. And then the middle is, you do things for your own pleasure, but not at the expense of others. Like, that's the sweet spot, is if you are living your life selfishly, but not hurting anybody. You should live your life selfishly, but not hurt anybody. But if you live your life selfishly and you're hurting people, then you're a narcissist. Your life and hurting yourself while for others, then I call that a self-narcissist. You are a narcissism, meaning yourself. You are putting yourself below other people. You're still putting a hierarchy. You're just not at the top of the hierarchy. You're at the bottom of it, and you put yourself there because you're accepting that exploitation. You're accepting that treatment, and you feel bad. You feel anxious. You feel depressed. You feel angry. You have all these negative emotions, but you ignore them because you get to help your husband, or you get to help your parent, or your friend, or whomever is taking from you in a way that leaves you feeling drained or sad, or not a great person, but you keep giving to them because you love them. And that's being a narcissist yourself. And so all that to say, am I being a narcissist by leaving my husband because I am choosing to do things for myself at the expense and the pain of another? And so that in and of itself is narcissistic, I will say. But my thing about narcissism is like that, and you don't care. Like, narcissism comes in when you do things for yourself at the expense and pain and suffering of others, and you have no empathy for them. You do not care about them. You could care less about their pain and suffering. That is the true narcissist, is they will exploit and take from you, and they won't feel bad about it. And many of them feel great about it. Many narcissists, like true narcissists, they will hurt people and smile. Hurt people and have glee on their faces. Like, when you meet true narcs, when they see pain and suffering, that is the only time you will see light in their eyes. It is disgusting. It is scary. It is demonic. It is the grossest thing. If you've ever been close with a narc, and you've given them your pain and suffering, you will see the glee in their eyes. It's gross. But yeah, so that is being narcissistic. I am doing something for myself, and it is coming at the pain of my soon to be ex-husband, but it's not coming with, there is not a drop of glee. There's no joy in his suffering. I have joy with my liberation. I have joy with my freedom. I have joy with being at peace with myself. I have joy at the outcome of how I feel, but I do not have joy at his suffering. I do not have happiness. It does not bring me, not only do I not find joy, it brings me great suffering. It brought me great pain and suffering to hurt my husband, to hurt him, to have him experience such a pain. Again, I am a hyper empath. Like if you guys read any Octavia E. Butler, Parable of the Sower, it's my favorite book. I feel like I am Lauren Olamina, if I'm being honest. And she has this it's like this hyper empath disease. But it's even physical. Like if she sees someone get cut, she will start bleeding. Like that is how strong her empathy is. Like literally just shy of that is me. Like I had my own grief at losing this relationship. I cried and suffered all on my own, but then seeing my husband cry and suffer and have this pain and this pain, if I think about it too much, I will start crying. So that is the difference between narcissism and being selfish in a way that hurts others and you don't care if you hurt others, and or you find joy in hurting others and putting people down, versus you're doing something for yourself and it just happens to come at the expense of others, and that saddens you greatly, that saddens you deeply, and you'll never do it again, and you'll never do it again, and you'll never do it again. Narcissists, they will do it again and again and again. If you have to do one selfish action that hurts somebody else at the end, but then on the outside of that, you'll never cause anyone else that kind of pain ever again. You didn't want to cause them that pain. That pain made you sad, and you'll avoid with all of your heart and soul to cause another person that kind of suffering again in your entire life. That is not narcissism. That is you growing as a person. You had to do a thing that hurt a person and you feel bad about it and you'll never do it again, but it had to be done, because at that point it's literally, not to say survival of the fittest, but it's like, it's my happiness or yours. It's like, you're going to be happy and I'm going to be depressed, or you're going to be depressed for a moment and then eventually we'll both be happy forever. Like, he's going to be happy eventually. Like, will we ever be happy that we broke up? I don't think we'll ever be happy about that. I am unhappy that I couldn't have the life that I wanted. I couldn't feel the feelings of joy and abundance and this lightness and this clarity and this sovereignty and this thing I feel, this, I don't know how to explain it, but the glory of God. If you want to like the glory of spirit of source, like this feeling that I feel, this jubilee. I have jubilee. I love that. But like the at the point of impact, when I think of that point of impact of like the divorce, that does not bring me joy. There's not an ounce of happiness in there. So, yep, we are hitting the 1 hour and a half mark. Thanks for sticking with me, ladies and gentlemen. So that is why I do not define myself as a narcissist at all, period. I'm not like narcissistic personality disorder. I am not that. I am anti that. I am a hyper empath. That is the opposite of narcissists. They feel nothing for anyone. Empaths, we feel everything for everybody. It's ridiculous, actually. So no, I'm not a narcissist. Joke's on you, because you're probably the narcissist for calling me that. People call me ungrateful for someone caring for my safety when it came to the scooter incident. And I didn't put this in the first video because I was like, I just didn't love that this is what he said. But I'm gonna tell you guys what he said when I asked him what was he's so afraid of about me getting on this scooter. And the answer was of me hurting myself. Sorry. The answer was of me hurting myself is what he was afraid of. But particularly, he said, he didn't say particularly, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he said, and quote, "You will be the mother of my child. I don't want anything to happen to you," end quote, roughly. It was roughly that. And I know that some people will take that and think absolutely nothing of it. But in my mind, it felt like, and I know you guys, the new folks are going to hate this, but it felt like the patriarchy. It felt like you are controlling what I can do. You are limiting my freedoms because you do not want to damage your incubator. That's what it felt like to me. I know that's not what he meant, but that is what he was saying. He don't know that he was saying that. And I know you're going to say, how are you going to tell him what he was saying? Whatever, take it or leave it, you guys. But the underlying intonation and the underlying thing was like, he didn't want me to get hurt and not be able to give birth and not be able to get pregnant and not be able to be a fertile woman anymore, which is like, so you're literally limiting my freedom so that I can be a healthy incubator. So am I grateful that he cared about me? Yes, I am. But y'all need to, everyone's always like, oh, it's not that deep. It's always deeper than you think. It's always deeper than you think. And then, this one was nuts. Okay. So someone said that I was a broke. So this person was summarizing my video in the comments for those who didn't want to listen to me ramble for the hour and a half that I did. This person said he broke. So basically this was a broke single mom who used him for a come up, and still her story centers around a man, although she claims to be anti-patriarchal. So if I don't do anything, my story is still that is for a man. It was just such a loaded comment, and I was just like, what the fuck? So I was a single mom, but that is your programming, your stereotypicalness that is kicking in, because first of all, I said in the video that I was making a 6-figure salary in corporate America. So how was I a broke single mom? I don't know. But I did say I had just got that job when I got married. But before that, you don't go from a 6-figure job, from 0 to a 6-figure job in corporate America. I was still in corporate America. I was making almost 6 figures when I met my husband. And in fact, I made more money than him whenever we first met. I was for the majority of our relationship, I was the breadwinner. Like, not to say no, not to say no offense, but like, I feel like that's typical for a relationship between a black man and a black woman. The black woman typically makes more money. It's just like, to assume, I guess because I'm a single mom, people assume that I'm poor. But the answer is no, I was not poor. I was very well off. I was more well off single financially than I was when I got in a relationship, because then I, again, as a breadwinner, started paying double what I was paying for my vacations beforehand, or I was paying more for travel fees. Like, he had a job, he had stuff, but like, when you are a single woman who makes a decent salary, you become accustomed to a certain lifestyle. And whenever my husband came in, he wasn't accustomed to that lifestyle, and I kind of folded him in by supplementing his vacations with some of my own income. So eventually he did become the breadwinner, but he was not the breadwinner to start, nor was he, like, literally he was the breadwinner for all of October, November, December, January, February, March, October, November, December, January. And then I filed for divorce in February. Yeah, so he was the breadwinner for like 3 months of our 3-year plus relationship. So was I a single mom looking for a come up? No. Single moms, not to say we be the richest ones, but it's just like, when you are a single mom, you are so financially savvy. You are so, not to say you're not frugal, but like you're financially intelligent. People feel like single moms are dumb because some of them are in the hood, but even the ones who are in the hood, y'all, I got single mom friends in the hood. They're not dumb. They're not dumb, and they're not broke either, honestly. You might call them broke because they don't have a $50,000 credit card limit, but they got money, and they handle it well, and they got places where they can live, and their babies are clean, and their bellies are full. Like, single moms, anyways. So yeah, and so no, was not looking for a come up. And no, it wasn't like, just none of that. And then this person was basically saying, like, my story centers around a man, and I will be nothing if I don't become anything, because all I'll be known for is this man. And I just want to say, fuck, I don't even know how to start this, but you don't know who the fuck I am. I don't, like, my story starts so much earlier than whatever date that I've dropped that video of March 2026. Like, I grew up poor, right? In the South of the United States, in a rural area full of racist white people. I was poor, and I grew. I was a teen mother, right? Although I had honor roll all throughout high school, I was a teen mother. I graduated second in my high school class, and because I was so academically rigorous, I ended up getting a full tuition scholarship to a prestigious university in this United States country, in the city of Washington, D.C. I won't say which one, but I went to a prestigious university in Washington, D.C. on a full tuition scholarship. Because of my academic rigor and my leadership skills and my community service, I was captain of the softball team in high school, captain of the volleyball team, went on to play some club sports in college, but that didn't last too long because I was parenting in college. I parented all throughout college. My child was born 5 days before I was submitted to matriculate into college. So I had to defer my first semester. And so I started college with a 3-month-old baby on my hip. And then I graduated 4.5 years later with a 3.4 GPA, higher than many people without children. from schools that are not as academically vigorous as the one that I went to. And then I went on to work at a prestigious for a Fortune 6 company. I'm not going to say which of the companies, but a Fortune 500 company, and they were in the top 10. They were in the top 6, maybe even top 5 at some points. And as a political analyst, as a market analyst, as I worked in healthcare administration. I talked to healthcare CEOs, CFOs, COOs, CHROs, health plan CEOs, CSOs. Like, you don't know me. And this is all coming from a poor Black teen mom. And you want to sit here and say it's all of this, and this is weave in and out of there some homelessness, weave in and out of their abusive relationships, and then you get this out on the other side. And so for someone to sit here on this internet and say that my story is nothing without this man, or my story revolves around this man, or my story does not begin until this man came along. Woo, child, the ghetto. I usually, like I said, I don't pull out like my accolades, because it's how I want to call it narcissistic. But it is prideful, it is boastful. I'm proud of the things that I've done. I'm proud that I overcame every barrier, that I didn't become the statistic that everyone would have expected me to be. I am extremely proud of what I've done, but I don't go around like just bragging about it or talking about it, because I don't find it necessary. If someone wants to try to if you want to play with me, we can play. I like games. So to see here, like, I've done TED Talks. I've done more. I've spoken in front of crowds as large as 600 people, I think was my largest crowd. I'm just like, I will say that pissed me off. I am great. I am grand. I am amazing. I am fantastic. I am adaptable. I am worthy. I am valuable. Like, it's just like, I have so much goodness inside of me, but because of this one situation that you don't agree with, you want to diminish my entire life and everything that I've done, and say that it is worth nothing outside of this man. And that's why I'm here. That is why Bri Speaks exists, in order to deconstruct those kinds of mentalities, in order to tell people and show people that the way that they tell you life is supposed to be is not the way that it has to be if you don't want it to be that way. Anything they tell you, here's what you're going to be because here's statistically blah, 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 you fuck that shit. It's like, you are who you are, and you are exactly who you're supposed to be. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. If you feel something, then you feel something. Do not ignore it. Do not shove it down. Don't suppress it. Talk to yourself, figure out what that something is, and figure out how to solve it or get rid of it if that is what you so desire. All right, last couple of things. They said I need to go to therapy. No, I fucking don't. I went to therapy. I talked to my therapist throughout this decision making, and she was, all thumbs up. And so here we are today. And again, I don't regret anything. I regret nothing. I feel fantastic. I feel the best I've ever felt in my whole life. I do feel like my life is just beginning. If I'm being honest, I've done all of that, and I feel like I'm just getting started. So no, I don't need therapy. Oh yes, the Christian said you need to go find God. Again, I have found God, and she is inside of me, and she is lovely. She is beautiful. She is wonderful. She is powerful. She is fantastically made. She is exactly who she's supposed to be, and she's taking me exactly where I'm supposed to be going. And if you feel like that's wrong, and all of this alignment and clarity that I feel is because one of the Christians said that I could be hearing these messages from a different person, from someone that's not God. It could be from the devil. And it's just like, here's the thing. Again, God created me exactly how I am supposed to be. And so I know that when I feel things, which is really how everyone is created, when your nervous system, when you feel anxious, that means you're afraid of something that's about to happen. When you feel depressed, that's usually because you don't have nothing to look forward to in the future, or you're ruminating on something terrible that happened in the past. It's like your nervous system is there to tell you what's what. That is what God gave you to talk to yourself. So I can feel alignment in my nervous system, clarity, no confusion. I can feel so good in everything that I am doing. I feel like I am walking among God. And Christians will turn around and tell me, nah, but it could be the devil. I know what it feels like when I'm not walking in my purpose. I know what it feels like to feel misaligned. I know what it feels like to not feel like you can be your authentic self. I know what it feels like to walk around and perform and like be someone who you're not. Like that is what the devil feels like. That performance, having to put on this mask every day, that's what the devil sounds like. The devil is telling you, yeah, you got to do this thing in order to be valued, in order to be loved, in order to be considered, in order to have all this stuff. You don't do all these things, if you don't perform this stuff that's the world is telling you to perform, then you won't be worth anything. You'll be worthless. That's the devil. When you're doing stuff and you feel misaligned, when you have to force yourself to do something because you just don't want to do it, even though everyone in the world, your boss, your mom, your dad telling you, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. Oh, you're supposed to go to school, be a doctor. Oh, you're supposed to go to school, be a lawyer. Oh, you're supposed to, do this project at work. That's such a big project. Everyone else would want it. You're so lucky you got it, but you hate it. Then you hate it. Like, don't force yourself to like stuff that you don't like. It's just like, y'all, like, everyone cares so much about what everyone else thinks, and it's making all of y'all miserable. All of everyone is making all of us. It was making me miserable. Caring about what other people will think about me, it will make you miserable. Don't care about what people think about you. Do what you want to do, because that's what you're supposed to be doing. Whatever you want to do, that is what God telling you. That is God telling you. You're God. The God inside of you telling you this is where you're supposed to go. This is what you're supposed to do. You're feeling uncomfortable in the spot you are because you're not supposed to be there. So, anyways, the Christians will tell me that I'm talking to the devil. I would say they should reconvene on who they're talking to. They said, don't go to Africa. They said very patriarchal there. And and then a lot of Africans came in and I'm like, oh, we love marriage. We adore marriage. Marriage is a labor of love. Marriage is our duty. You don't, divorce. And I get it. A lot of Africa has been colonized, and with colonization comes Christianity, and with Christianity comes patriarchy. And with patriarchy comes, you have to uplift marriage as this holy spiritual contract that you are binded to for till death do us part, and you are not allowed to walk away. And if you walk away from it, you will be stoned. I get a lot of Africa is like that, but so. Not say so, but like I feel like I can find, like, America is patriarchal, but that doesn't mean you can't exist as a single woman in America. So I know for a fact there are places in Africa where even though the society is patriarchal, that I can still exist as a Black woman who doesn't have a husband. Like if they look at me, even if they know I don't have a husband, doesn't mean they don't know that I don't want a husband until they start talking to me. But like, unless there's a place where if you're walking around in Africa and you don't have some sort of visible representation like a ring or a hijab, or if you don't have something on you that shows that you are a married woman and you're just walking in the street by yourself, you will be stoned. Unless that is the case, I'm sure there's somewhere I can find where I can exist as a single woman without anyone bothering me. And and I do, like I said, I speak Spanish, so I also just might not end up in Africa. I want to, and I feel like that's what's calling me, and I hope to end up there for some reason, and I don't know why. So like, that's the spirits are tapping in. They're telling me I'm supposed to be there. I don't know why. I don't know where, but that's what I'm being told. That's the download that I'm getting. But in the meantime, I have gotten permission from my upper ups to be able to hang out in Panama or Colombia for a little while and practice my Spanish. So will I go to Africa? Yes. Will I end up living there? Who knows? So everyone's telling me not to go because of the culture. I'm like, okay, thanks for the info. I appreciate it. I will definitely take that into consideration during my research phase for figuring out where I want to settle long term. Last question is, what will I do for intimacy? And I was like, I don't know. We'll see. Just people are like, oh, I struggle for the want for intimacy, but I'm just like, that yearning for human touch and affection. I don't know. I guess I feel like I know I have family. I get good hugs. Like I get love, like the love that I get from my family and friends. That is intimate enough for me. I don't like, and if you're talking about like just like the actual physical portion of being an adult in a romantic relationship or whatever it looks like for you, what am I gonna do about that? I'm just like, I'll figure it out. The answer is I'll figure it out. I'm not sure exactly what it looks like, but there is that want for that kind of, connection with someone. Again, even if I have that yearning every once in a while, I don't personally foresee myself like wanting it. Like, I know, never say never. But as of right now, I know for a fact that I will never yearn for it enough to want to be in a romantic relationship again, to want to put out that much energy in order to maintain a romantic relationship with a person, so I have access to their sexual organs. I don't see myself ever doing that. And so what will I do when that urge arises? It's either I'll probably ignore it, not suppress it, but like probably ignore it because I don't know. It's just like it's a physical urge. Physical urges, they go away if you ignore them for long enough. It's like if you are addicted to something, withdrawal period is going to stink. It's going to suck. It's going to be really, really hard. But then after you go a really long time without said, you know, thing, it's like, well, I guess I'm fine without it after all. So yeah, that is that. I just feel like I'll be fine. Thank you for listening. If you made it all the way to this far, I appreciate you being invested in my story. And I hope that it inspires someone to follow their own heart and do what they feel compelled or called to do what make them feel in alignment with their mind, their body, their spirit, and their emotions. And I hope it leads to a lot of happiness because once you are aligned with who you are and you're living authentically as yourself, the world is your oyster. Like the world is your oyster. I can't emphasize that enough. So stop doing shit that other people want you to do and do what you want to do. And I wish you all the best of luck. Until next time. If you want to, connect with me on a different platform, please do go follow me on TikTok at Bri Speaks. Also, I will eventually post these on Spotify. So Bri Speaks podcast there. And then if you want to donate, my Cash App is always, well, actually, let's just do the GoFundMe. I don't want to give too many people too many options. So, I'll just put the GoFundMe link in the, if you feel like you like my story and you appreciate me, I'll take all donations. I take all donations. I know I said I don't need them or I said I'd rather die. And I don't need them in the way that if you don't give it to me, I will be homeless, but it will go towards my getting the F out of America fund. And I do need help with that. I will say I do need help with that. Yeah. If you wanna support, I will put the GoFundMe down below. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks in advance. Love you, human being, person. You are probably wonderful. You are wonderfully made, uniquely made. No one can be you but you, and no one has to experience your life but you. And so never do what other people want you to do if it will make you unhappy because there's only one you and you're the only one who has to live it. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.